Sweet Pieces, and we are in our Huntington store today, coming to you live with our demo day for milk paint, Miss Mustard Seed. So we have a bunch of ladies and a gent here, and I have quizzed them before we started. No one here has tried milk paint. So I'm just going to have you ladies shout it out one more time. Why have you not tried milk paint?
It's unpredictable.
Okay.
Didn't know how to use it.
Okay.
Don't know how it would look on furniture.
Not sure how it would look on furniture.
Never used it.
Okay, never used it. All right, so I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you should try milk paint today. So what is milk paint? Let me start with that. Milk paint is actually one of the oldest forms of paint known to man. It is 5 ingredients, and it comes in powder form. We store it in big mason jars. Deirdre, you want to grab me a bag? It's sold in the bag. It's $24 for a bag, which this is going to make it about a quart. This bag will do anywhere from like 1 to 2 medium pieces of furniture. It does go a really nice long way. So again, 5 ingredients. It's all natural, and it is a little bit unpredictable. So you may get some chipping, some flaking happening. You might get a little bit of resisting on your piece. But I always say that, there is a very special piece of furniture. You're going to use a very special piece of furniture when you're deciding to go with milk paint. So here is the dresser that we're going to be painting today. And let me just explain to you, like when I see a piece of furniture now, I go, oh, that's definitely a milk paint piece. So I always think like farmhouse, rustic, like I like that when a piece of furniture comes in and it's really dry, the finish is like really worn off. I usually want to go for milk paint on something like that. So does that kind of make sense? If it's a mid-century modern piece, I'm not going to put milk paint on it because it kind of doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Now, milk paint does this really fabulous chippy thing. Now, it is unpredictable. Sometimes it chips, and sometimes it doesn't. So you do have to be a little bit open-minded about your projects when you're going to use milk paint. But here is my promise to you. Anything that you do in milk paint is going to turn out beautiful. Every piece of furniture that we have ever done with milk paint always comes out beautiful. And you do have to let go, okay? So if you are a little bit of a control freak, I suggest you get a glass of wine before you do it, okay? And just have fun with it. Like maybe find that piece of furniture that is dry and she needs some loving and throw some milk paint on her because it just comes to life. Here's another thing that milk paint does that I absolutely love. It has limestone in it. So when it dries on something, it gets this like beautiful shimmer about it. It has this really pretty shimmer in it, and that's the limestone kind of coming to life. You're mixing the paint by hand. So what also happens is that you have these pigments that don't completely dissolve. So you'll get this like variation, this beautiful variation in color without even having to do anything. So your pieces, they don't just look like one-dimensional, you threw a coat of paint on them. They really have this beautiful artisan look to it. So don't be afraid to use milk paint. Can you all mix pancake batter? Okay, good. Then you can mix milk paint. So get that fear out, like, oh, well, you have to mix it. I'm not really sure. It's super, super easy. So I'm gonna start, and you ladies are going to watch as much as you want, and then if you get bored of watching me, you can go over to that table with Deirdre and play. And everybody can grab a tag, and you can mix your own milk paint and play on a tag and have fun. And for all of you that are here, 10% off of any DIY products that you decide to purchase today. And for those of you that couldn't be here today, maybe are watching from Tennessee or Texas or California, you can also get 10% off by going to our website and using code, what did I use? What is it? It's on there. 10 off MMS. That's what the code is. 10 off MMS. Or you can call us here in the shop, 631-560-9759, and we'll do your order over the phone. So anyway, let me get started here. So you can use, just about anything to mix milk paint, depending on what kind of a batch I'm doing. I may use a blender. So this is an old vintage blender. I think I grabbed this on the side of the road. And I'm just going to pour in some water. You know, this is kind of like by eye. It's kind of like by feel. Like there is no right or wrong or anything like that. It's just, you know, they say it's about 1 to 1. I don't know if that's true. Just plop some paint in there and have fun with it. You want to mix it to a consistency that, you know, it's going to be a little bit less thick than regular paint is. That's normal. It's going to be a little bit less thick. You can mix it really thin if you want, watery to make it more like a stain. You can use milk paint as a stain as well. Milk paint, when you're putting it on raw wood also, it's never going to chip. Okay, so if you have a raw wood piece, you can be really confident that milk paint's going to be nice and stable on there. It basically absorbs into the wood, essentially stains it, and it's never going to chip or peel away. And the nice thing too, because it's that, you know, it's that limestone, when milk paint dries, it's literally hard as a rock because it has limestone in it. So it's really going to, it's just going to be really nice. It sands beautifully, it's gorgeous. Question?
Did you do anything to this furniture?
Yes, we did. So we cleaned it. This is the cleaner that we use on every single piece of furniture that we do in the shop. Whether we're painting it with milk paint or we're painting it with chalk paint, we always use a pre-paint cleaner. And let me just make sure you understand this. It does say Crud Cutter. Crud Cutter is a brand. This is a specific type of Crud Cutter. Pre-paint cleaner. This is the one that you want to have. So we do carry this here at the store for you, along with everything else that you need. You know, brushes, stencils, hardware. Yes, yes.
Is the paint itself, is it leveling, or do you?
Both of the paints, chalk paint and milk paint, are both self-leveling.
So if you have like very distressed wood,
Mm-hmm.
barn wood or something,
Yeah.
it'll be flat enough that you can then.
Definitely. It's gonna, I mean, both of these paints are like, they're a dream for people that want to create artisan finishes on furniture. This is not like slapping a coat of latex on and it looks like you slapped a coat of latex on it. It's always going to come out with this, like, you're going to be surprised by yourself, like, oh my god, I made that. I did that. It's a really beautiful paint. It's going to kind of absorb into those nooks and crannies. You know, you can do different techniques, dry brushing, where you're kind of just like brushing it on top of some of that texture on the barn wood and things like that. So yeah, very easy to create those fun looks. So I'm mixing. I'll give this about 30 seconds. You know? Yeah, so we have a question, do you have to sand? So if you don't want your milk paint to chip, sanding is a good idea. You know, so you do want to sand if you don't want it to chip. How much? Well, you know, again, it's not guaranteed. It might chip a little. You ladies are welcome to come on in, or are you here for the demo? Yes. Okay, great. So, you know, just feel free to listen along here. So yeah, if you don't want your milk paint to chip, you can sand it. You know, and you don't have to sand it down to completely bare wood, but you want to get, you know, a good amount of that, any kind of shiny, sheeny finish off of there. Here's the other thing that you can do with milk paint. We do carry something called a bonding agent. So bonding agent, you add it to your paint in a 1-to-1 ratio, and that makes the paint stick to the surface. Is this 100% fail-proof? No. You know, I would say like 90%. So again, you know, sanding it, if you really want that milk paint to stick, you want that milk paint look. Milk paint just has that, you know, it's so hard to explain, but once you see it, you know. It just kind of has that beautiful variation in color. It's just the way that the paint comes out, which you'll kind of see once I start painting on here. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just throwing a bunch of powder, throwing some water, waiting till I get the mix that I want. Now I wouldn't use your regular blender for this.
Do you have to use a blender?
You don't have to use a blender.
Does it come out better?
It does come out better because, especially for larger batches, you're going to get more, thank you, Deirdre, you're going to get more of that pigment to kind of dissolve. but you certainly don't have to. You can use a mason jar and just shake the two together. You can use a stir stick. We carry these little whisks that are over on that table. Whisks are really great to use with it. And then we also have a milk paint mixer, which is like a little, would you just hold one of those up for me, dear? Yep, right there. So that you can use that as well. And I'm just going to add a little bit more powder to this. Here's the other thing. When you are mixing milk paint for a larger piece of furniture, it is a good idea to mix enough for that piece of furniture, because when you mix milk paint a second time, sometimes the variation in color is a little bit off. So it's happened to us more than one time. What's the fix? I just kind of lightly go over the whole piece with that second coat, and then you'll have that variation like all over the piece, which is, you know, kind of nice too. Okay, so I think we're just about ready here.
How long can you store it if you make too much?
Great question. How long can you store it? So milk paint is only good once it's mixed for about a week. So you do want to, like, I wouldn't just mix your whole bag at one time. You know, just mix what you need. And we like to store ours in the refrigerator. That does kind of extend the life of it a little bit. So the color that I'm going to be using here is called Shutter Gray. And, you know, this has, like, see how it's kind of plopping off of there? That's kind of the consistency that you want to get. Milk paint is made with pigment. It's made with real pigment, which is different than tints. We just talked about this the other day in our Intro to Chalk Paint class. Pigments are highly concentrated. They're extremely rich. And they're really, really beautiful. So they're going to provide excellent coverage. So even though this paint isn't as thick as a typical paint would be, it's still going to provide really nice coverage. So can everybody see my paint here? You know, it's kind of watery, but I usually like to wait a few minutes for the bubbles to kind of settle out of the paint. And when you're mixing with anything, you know, especially if you're mixing with like one of these guys here, you want to wait a little while for those bubbles to settle out. You will see those in your finish if you don't let them settle out. Okay, you ladies see that? You know, it's kind of like plopping off my brush there. So I think we're ready. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting. I mean, look at how gorgeous that is covering. And Lee, you want to come on over here and get a closer shot of this? Do you guys all see how nicely that's covering? And I barely even put any paint on there. And you saw how thin it was, right? So again, like this paint is just really, really incredible. And come on in here and get closer if you ladies want. Now, how many coats of this are you going to have to do? Probably two coats, I would say. I'm using an Annie Sloan brush with this. You want to use a natural bristle brush whenever you're using milk paint as well as chalk paint. It's really a good idea. It just, I don't know, it just applies the paint so much nicer. So with this piece, I don't know if this is going to chip. It might not. My suspicion is it's probably not going to chip because, well, does anybody know why? It's so porous. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of dry, and to me it looks like it's going to kind of absorb this paint. But let's say the next question might be, well, how do I know it's going to chip? When is it going to chip? Usually it's going to chip like after the first coat. You'll start to see in some areas it'll just start lifting from the surface. Literally, it's lifting from the surface. This is the one time where it's really cool to watch paint dry. Because you just don't know what you're going to get. It's really a lot of fun. Does anyone want to try? Anyone want to jump in here and give it a shot?
May I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a definitely, stripped down piece, and it's dry, and it's natural wood.
Yeah.
If you want to repaint something that I've done an some process on it.
Okay.
And I want to just change the color, I change the style.
Yeah.
What would I do with a piece of furniture? Sand it down, take something a cleaner on it?
So are you saying you want to try milk paint on it?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would is it waxed?
No.
It's not waxed.
No.
What did you seal it with?
Actually, because I wasn't really sure, I wanted to keep it that way. The only thing I have along the edges are some metallic, like
the gilding wax?
Yeah,
okay.
That was it.
So depending on what your hope is for the piece, if you're okay with, whatever happening, because you have not sealed it, I would take off that metallic wax with some mineral spirits. Or odorless solvent. We carry an odorless solvent here that you just kind of put it on a rag and wipe it back. And then you can just go ahead and paint it. You could sand it. It really just depends on what you want. If you really want it to stick, then you may want to really sand it down. You might get some chipping, and you might reveal some of the original color underneath there. It might even take the chalk paint off with its chipping. I've seen that happen too. I've seen a variation. You might have, the original finish coming through and the Annie Sloan color coming through. It's a little bit unpredictable, but like I said, it's a lot of fun. You just don't know what you're gonna get. And here's the thing too, you can't get that authentic chippy look with anything else except for, at least I have not been able to find anything that you could get that authentic chippy look. Like it looks like it's been in a barn for like 100 years and the paint is just chipping away.
On what type of surface do you get that?
Like when you get a milk paint piece that actually chips, like does that chippy look, that's really the only time I've seen it happen is when you're using like a true milk paint. And a true milk paint is powder form. So there are some other milk paints out on the market that are not powder form. They're already liquid. And that's not a true milk paint because, again, milk paint only lasts for a few days. So if it was a true milk paint, it's not mixed. It's powder. That's what you're looking for when you're looking for a milk paint. Any other questions?
If you wanted to milk paint over something that had wax on it, what if you left the wax on? Would that cause more of a chipping and cracking?
What a great question. And yes, it would. So that would be called a resist technique. You can actually use wax as a resist to cause chipping. So we carry a wax puck. You want to grab one of those for me, Deirdre? And you can actually use that on your piece of furniture before you start. So here's a wax puck. And you can kind of like rub this on some spots. Let me do it right now. And this will kind of cause the paint to like flake off a bit on those spots.
Would any wax work, whether it be the puck or something from Annie Sloan?
I've never tried Annie's wax to do a resist. I think this is more because it's more solid, so it's putting like a definitive coating on that one spot. Whereas like Annie's wax and Miss Mustard Seed's wax are both pliable. They're a little bit more softer, so they kind of absorb into those spots. This is kind of like laying on top of it. So I would think you would get more of that authentic chippy look with a puck.
Would that be like candle waxing?
You could probably use a candle as well. Yeah. This is pure beeswax. That's what this is. Any other questions?
Can you seal it with anything when it's finished?
Yes, you can. So we recommend, Miss Mustard Seed has 4 different sealing products. She has a wax, a tough coat, a hemp oil, and well, actually, there's a few of them. So there's wax, and there's several waxes. There's clear wax. There's antiquing wax, which is like a darker wax. Let me you stay right there, Lee. So here's a board. So this is the antiquing wax. This is going to give you like more of an aged finish. You're going to put that over the clear wax. Clear wax. She also has a white wax, which is going to give you like a whitewashy, shabby chic kind of an effect. Hemp oil, which is really good for, again, those really dry pieces. It's going to kind of absorb into the wood and seal it. And then Tough Coat, which is going to be for, let's say you have a piece of furniture, you put mill paint on it, and now it's chipping like crazy. It's got like this great farmhouse chippy effect going on, but you're not sure if it's going to stop chipping. We want it to stop chipping. We don't want to have to vacuum the floors all the time with chipping paint, right? So Tough Coat is basically going to seal the paint into, into the piece exactly how it is. And sometimes, like, I even just like, it's flaking away and I'm just putting the Tough Coat over it, and the chips are getting on my Tough Coat and it's rubbing it around. Trust me, it's going to look cool. Just go with it. So yes, you should seal your mill paint. Wax, again, is that really beautiful satin sheen kind of a finish. Tough Coat is also going to give you a satiny kind of a finish. And then the hemp oil is going to be great for something that's really dry and raw, and that's going to absorb it. It's also going to richen that color, whatever color you've put down. It's going to give you a little bit of a richer effect. More questions?
Do you have to use clear wax over every other wax? Like, I know you do it for the black, and you said for the white you also do. So it's best to have clear wax over as underneath any other color wax, except for hemp oil and say the other
Tough Coat. Yep.
Right.
So Tough Coat and hemp oil are going to be on their own. You're just going to use those products on their own. And would you use clear wax before the others? So here's my answer. You're going to use clear wax before you use a colored wax when there's a big variation in color from the colored wax that you're using. Okay? So if you're using an antiquing wax, that dark wax, and you're going on a light color or a medium color, you're going to use clear wax. If you have antiquing wax, dark wax, and you're going on top of a really dark color, and so the dark wax and the color are kind of close, you don't necessarily have to use the clear wax because there's not going to be that much variation. Does that make sense?
Yes, but when you do a black piece, the graphite black isn't black. And even when you put the clear on, the clear wax, but when you use the black wax over the graphite, it's darker. But you have to use the clear wax underneath the black wax to get that really black look.
You don't have to. You're making total sense. You've been listening to us. It's very good. But there is the exception when you're going close to the color of the wax. So in the case of black wax, if you're going like in a black range or a really dark color, you can get away with going straight to the darker waxes. In Miss Mustard's case, it's going to be the antiquing wax. In Annie's case, it would be the black wax or the dark wax. So the same is true for the white wax. If you're putting white wax over a color that's like white, so the lighter colors, you can get away with going with straight white. If you're putting white wax on a color that has a big variation from it, you're putting white wax over black wax, then you would need that clear coat as like a slip layer so that you can get your wax to look consistent. Because that's really the key, right? We want our wax to look somewhat consistent. We want it to have, some variation, but if you're not careful, it can look dirty sometimes, right? Like it's maybe a bad job. We don't want it to look like a bad job, so that's what the clear wax does. It gives you a slip coat.
So if you have, say, a piece of furniture that you've already chalk paint white and you've waxed it and you've lived with it for about a year, and you said, hey, I want to put some black wax on. Do I have to re-wax it with clear, or can I go right over the white with the black?
You should have a little bit of clear wax on there to just refreshen it. Because the point of the clear wax is to enable you to move the dark wax around or the black wax around. And the clear wax enables you to do that. Yeah. Other questions? Who wants to try? No one wants to jump in and try this? Come on. Can you grab some chip brushes? Who's going to be my first tester? Come on. I don't want to have to pick someone. Okay, thank you. So dip away here. All right. You can even go on the side. Or yeah, finish that. Have you used the chalk paint?
No, I haven't.
Okay. And then you haven't used the milk paint?
I've never.
Okay. So we got a sheet of one here. Have you ever painted anything?
Yes.
Okay. So how does this paint feel in comparison to something else you've used? Is it any different?
I think it's more so the brush, maybe.
Okay.
Just, it's a little bit harder to push.
Okay.
I guess.
Any other questions? Does anybody want to try out like mixing their own a little bit of milk paint and painting on a tag? Okay, so Deidre, can you just help them out over there?
I think it was harder to push here because you put the wax here. That's why.
Possibly, yeah.
The wax here. Now I'm over here, and it's a lot smoother.
Good. Well, there you go, guys. How easy peasy is it to use milk paint? I hope you'll come visit us in the store or check out our website. Watch out for our next video. We got some new ones coming up next week. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Here. Good stuff. Anybody else want to try? Anybody else want to try? No? Sure. What do you like to think this was your first experience with
And then we have.
Yeah, I'd like to have
Layla's mint, which is here. So tell me which color you like. Look mint. And it's the consistency, like she said, it's like a pancake.
You want to try? Sure. I'll try the trophy. Yep.
I will. The battery died.
All right. Well, then we can just whisk it.
It's not going to absolutely
All on the board there.
100% on the piece. It might chip and peel off, but it's supposed to do that. It's going to give you like that rustic farmhouse kind of look. So there's a couple pieces around that I will take out from show to you. Yeah.
Well, once it's dry, it has to be
Yeah, if you wanted to really stick. Okay.
Because even if it doesn't chip, it has a really beautiful finish to it. We have a few pieces that are painted with it on the floor. Now, just the pigments in it is just
So take a look over
and
here.
the way that it feels is just so it's just different. If you want to make sure that it chip, will it chip on this piece here? We will see. I don't know.
I'm thinking I might want to try the wax so I can see
That's something that just happens. Sure. With no paint, that's right.
Because then we're maybe guaranteed. Yeah.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Look at that's better. I don't see it. That's not yeah, it's warm.
Does anybody want to try?
Yeah. Here. You know what? I'll go for it. Right. Yeah. Just grab a cup. Put like a spoon in with some water. Just a little bit of water, and then you can always add. Yeah, it's a little watery.
This is cute. Because that's a little bit, but you know, it's not going to be as thick as the chalk paste. So you're going to think of it more. You'll see as you start spreading it. If it's too light on your piece, you can thicken it up a little bit. But like Amanda said, you can use this as a stain. So if like you were using it on a wood like this, it could look really pretty, very, very thin.
Right.
Almost put it like a stain, slight stain color over it. And the important thing too with this paint is to mix it really well because like she said, there's all different kinds of pigments in there. Do you want to try some?
Sure.
What color do you want?
This trophy's good.
I know that you can have no, but then regular paint, right, doesn't.
Good. That's it. This is the flow blue, this is the trophy, and this is the Layla's mint. Which color? The blue?
You're fine.
You're actually
waxy little pieces, does that mean you didn't mix it good?
No, that's just the pigments that you're brushing through, and it actually, when it dries, can look really, really beautiful. So even if like that happened, you'll see. That's just the different colored pigments that you're brushing through.
Temporary wallpaper. That's the piece about that. It's temporary in the sense you can pull it down when you're done. Change it.
Is this too watery?
A little bit. I would put a little bit more.
Yeah.
I have like a table, a coffee table. It's not really a coffee table. It's a piece of wood that's been everything, and I made it into a coffee table. I bought like 2 lights. Yeah. And it's a long piece of wood that I like to do this, but the kids put their feet on it and stuff. What can I do to protect that from?
Okay, well, I don't know necessarily if you would like you probably be better off using the other paint. No, I think you, instead of waxing it, I would probably use a top coat on it, because the top coat would be a little bit more.
And what's the top coat?
It's the liquid there.
So if, are you trying to make
It's just an alternative as your top coat when you're finished. Yeah. Because I mean, listen, the wax, it'll probably, if it's cured, it will be protective. Right. If you have a lot of stuff going on around it, probably. Yeah.
Right.
It's a little stronger, a little more durable.
Right. And then, like, can you repaint it once you painted it? Like, if it starts to, like,
Yeah, you can.
can you sand it again, or?
Well, it depends if it's all, how chippy it comes. If it becomes very chippy, you would want to probably resand that area a little bit and just put a little bit more on. You can stop that chippiness from happening by using the bonding agent. So
I like
it's
that
depending on whether.
black, the antique paint. So is that something that would not be good for that piece?
No, you can definitely do that. I would just be mindful until it's fully cured. It's like the wax for the Annie.
Right.
Once it's fully cured is when it's fully protected.
Have you been putting stuff on the piece that I make?
So for that first, month or so, you just want to be mindful not to throw down your keys or put anything hot down. Just let it fully cure and then.
Right. So did the wax trippy? Like, is it trippy?
I think it's doing something. I'm not quite sure.
The white one? Yeah, that was that chocolate. Can you see them?
Right?
I think
That's you want to try another one?
She's got the gray. The gray